Welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, Percibeth Appreciator and longtime Percy Jackson fan.
And I'm Julie, Percy Jackson newbie and ginger rights activist.
I was wondering what your thoughts were going to be on the Ginger Giant.
Justice for man.
And this is a podcast about Julie reading the Percy Jackson series and consuming related media for the first time. This week we read Percy Jackson and the Staff of Hermes, another short story that can be found in the Demigod Diaries, which I have to say is a better name than the Demigod Files, which is like the first book of short stories, you know? Like, Demigod Diaries just rolls off the tongue. It's nice. It's great.
We love an alliteration.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was reading this. I was kind of like, we were perhaps doing this a little bit out of order, because I don't know, we looked it up last time, and this book came out, like, in between the second and third books of this series, so a little bit later in the release schedule than, like, we're reading it, but, it's fine. You can kind of read things in any order you want, and it's vibes.
I did see, it's somewhat related. I saw this thing, it was on Twitter, it was someone talking to, like, about how, like, illiterate adults are now, and like in the publishing industry, like what's not going to get published because like people won't read it. And one of them is it was all adults stuff. Adults don't want to read timelines that are not in chronological order. Like they can't do it. And I'm like, oh my god, people are so lazy now.
Interesting.
But that's just what it made me think of. Come on, it's a puzzle. You can put it together.
Yeah. I've read so many kids' books that, like, in the same book, the timeline, like, skips back and forth, and...
Yeah!
I was smart enough as a child to read that.
That's a fun way to read things. I saw another thing, it was, like, people can't understand, like, third-person omnipresent narration.
I saw that one. That one I saw.
You mean, like, basic narration? I feel like 90% of books are that.
I was like, have these people never read fan fiction? Because, like, I cannot read a first-person fan fiction.
Weird.
That's just, like, this is fine because this is a character. The person who created the character is, like, writing this. But, like, if somebody writes a Percy Jackson fanfic and starts using I'm like, immediately no.
Who are you?
You are not required and you can't. It's not allowed. Okay, anyway, let's get into it, I guess. We open with Percy and Annabeth having a picnic on the Great Lawn in Central Park. Love it. Very New York. Also very fun because the Great Lawn is, like, directly behind the Met, where Percy canonically once killed his 6th grade math teacher. And it is also just below the Central Park Reservoir, where Percy made a hurricane and turned Hyperion into a tree with Grover, so...
So many good memories.
So many adventures been had in this, like, square mile of New York City.
I did say, reading this, was like, oh my god, I started looking up Yankee games, because I was like, I'm planning my next trip. Like, I want, like, them talking about, like, the High Line and everything, and I was like, oh my god, I want to be in the city in the summer when it's nice weather.
Like, I want to be having a picnic in the park.
I want to walk and it not be 40 degrees. It was very cold last time.
It's May. It should not be 40 degrees.
It's fine here now. We've warmed up. But, like, remember last time I was there? It was freezing the whole time. I mean, it was February, but still.
Yeah, it was. It was very cold. So, it is September 18th in our short story. And I do wonder what day of the week this is, because if it is September 18th, they would both definitely be back in school, you know? And Percy said at the end of The Last Olympian that camp went late that summer, and it went, like, 2 weeks after August 18th, right up to the new school year. So, like, they were probably at camp until, like, the 1st of September. But most of the New York City schools I know of come back in early September, a lot of times, like, after Labor Day. So, like, these two children are in school. Or they're skipping. But I don't think they're skipping. So that would mean that this has to be a Saturday or a Sunday.
Annabeth I could see not skipping. Percy would skip.
Oh, Percy absolutely would skip. But that's not to say that I think Annabeth really cares a ton about mortal school or would be particularly good at it. She feels like the kind of smart kid to me that would be, like, really into certain things that, like, feel relevant to her and then not care at all about other things.
Okay.
Like, if she doesn't see the point of it, I don't know that she would be into it, you know? Like, I don't think you would catch that girl doing busy work. So, like, her history class that's taught by some football coach, I don't know if that happens in New York. I know that happens, like, in the South, where it's big about football, but...
Happens in PA.
Yeah, she would not be into that. But, like, I feel like she would be into, like, math and science and stuff, and, like, the skills that you need to be an architect, but I don't know that she would have all that much patience for, like, an essay on the symbolism of the green light in The Great Gatsby, because...
I love The Great Gatsby. It's a favorite of mine.
The Great Gatsby's fun.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when you've saved the world...
It's kind of banal.
Yeah. You've saved the world 5 times before you turn 16, and, like, who cares about The Great Gatsby, you know?
Fair.
These rich people kind of going to each other's houses and, like, having drama. That's what a lot of books are,
Fair.
quite honestly.
Fair.
Is it what's the book that there's, like a Goodreads review that goes around every once in a while, and it's like, "This book is it Pride and Prejudice?" It might be Pride and Prejudice. It's just like, "This is just a book about people going to each other's houses."
That is definitely Pride and Prejudice, and I will defend Pride and Prejudice with my dying breath. I love that book. It's because the woman is mean to the man who's in love with her, and I love that.
Yeah.
She should have been meaner.
It's incredible.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, if they're sitting in the Great Lawn of Central Park, they are potentially sitting in the outfield of a softball field because, there's a bunch of softball fields on the Great Lawn. And if it's a weekend, there are probably games happening. So Annabeth kind of starts off by saying, "You forgot, didn't you?" And Percy, of course, freaks out. He's like, "We've been in all these near-death experiences together, but now that I'm her boyfriend, one frown, and I'm, like, so scared that I've ruined everything," which is so valid of him.
Mhm.
I, too, am an overthinker. And he's tempted to kind of play it off, be cool about it, but he doesn't want to lie to her. And also, he's like, if I did, she would see right through me because she is too smart. And also because she knows him. And being loved is being known, And so, icon legend star Percy Jackson says he does what he does best and stares blankly at her and acts dumb. To which I quote the icon herself, Annabeth, and say, "Percy, was it hard?" Because, that's truly one of Annabeth's most iconic lines.
Mhm.
She was such a bitch to Rachel.
Honestly, I get it. Like, I'm a very jealous person. I get it.
No, I'm not saying that she was. Well, she was a little bit wrong, but I'm not saying that her actions are not understandable, because they are. Annabeth reminds him that it's September 18th, asks him what happened a month ago. He says his birthday, which is kind of wild because considering on that day he didn't even realize it was his birthday until, like, Annabeth said something and brought him the cupcake.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's why he didn't realize it had been a month, because, like, he barely remembered that it was his birthday. I don't know. And he says he can tell that that's not the answer she was looking for, but also he starts talking about how good she looks and how that's not helping his concentration. Get it together, Percy. We don't have time for this.
Down bad.
So down bad.
Down bad crying at the gym.
So down bad. Ridiculous. This is a wife guy. To continue the conversation from last episode.
Yeah.
So his next immediate thought is that they defeated Kronos a month ago, but he doesn't think that that's what she means, and that would be kind of a wild anniversary to celebrate, like, yay, our friend Luke killed himself in front of us a month ago. Woo!
Insane.
Well, because, like, listen, when you think about it, the Kronos victory is kind of like a complicated thing to celebrate. Like,
That's so fair.
like, we've got very conflicted feelings about it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So Annabeth then finally puts him out of his misery and says that a month ago was their first kiss, and so that makes this their 1 month anniversary. And there's much to unpack here. Is a 1 month anniversary something that people who are not 16 years old celebrate? Like, did you celebrate your 1 month anniversary?
No, but I do keep track of how long it's been. Like, I'm like, okay, it's been 10 months.
Yeah.
But we didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that feels normal, and it feels like you could be like, "Hey, we've been together for a month," but to be like, "Hey, we have to do something for our 1 month anniversary?"
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it feels very high school to me. But then again, they are demigods who could die at any moment.
Right.
So,
Like, celebrate the little things. I love it. I like going to a fancy dinner for no reason. And an anniversary is kind of a reason, and 1 month anniversary is kind of a reason. But, like, how are you going to top what he does? Yeah, not to jump ahead, but
no, I know.
Crazy.
It's a hard act to follow. And Annabeth does say that she wouldn't really care, but he promised to do something. Which, why would you do that? Keep the expectations low, buddy. That's the secret to a happy relationship from me, a person who's never been in a relationship.
I'm going to tell you, if Adam does not go all out for 1 year, dead to me. He's dead.
Okay, but 1 year is different.
I know, it is.
1 year is 1 year. Yeah. Also, second thing, this is not even true. Annabeth saying that that was their first kiss. No, this is their 1 month anniversary of becoming a couple. This is the 1 month anniversary of their second kiss. Their first kiss was over a year ago under Mount St. Helens. But I will say, as someone who did not know that kiss existed until, like, a few years ago.
Mhm.
If Annabeth doesn't recognize it, then it's less bad that I did not read it. Thank you.
I love it.
Just interesting. And I do love that Percy's immediate reaction is, "Oh crap, I really have to remember every birthday, holiday, and like all these anniversaries now." And as someone who accidentally missed one of their best friend's birthdays this year, I get it. A lot of times I'm not aware of the date unless I have something specifically scheduled that is like on a certain, like if I have tickets for something and I'm like it is on the 25th, then I know what day is the 25th.
Yeah.
But if I don't have anything scheduled, it's whatever.
Is it Sydney's birthday? Mhm.
Yes, I did miss Sydney's birthday. Sorry to Sydney. I have been texting her though every month on the 27th and being like, "Hi, happy 26.17th birthday."
Oh my god. I love it.
So now she's going to get 12 birthday texts this year
Incredible.
to make up for the one that I sent her on the 28th because that was my bad.
Oops.
So, I at least remembered your birthday, so that's a win.
Thanks, bestie.
Didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Okay, yeah. Great, I did. Great. Then we get the reveal that Annabeth wouldn't really care, but Percy promised her some special dinner, and he's like, "Oh crap, when did I say that?" And he's so me. I often will make plans and then I will forget about them, and someone will be like, "Hey, are we still doing this thing?" And I'll be like, "Oh, sure."
It happens.
It's hard to be a functional person.
True.
And then I love that he then immediately starts like trying to defend himself to us, the reader. He's like, "Now, just because I forgot this doesn't mean I don't care. Truly, this month with Annabeth has been the best. I'm the luckiest demigod alive." And then he starts like looking for excuses, like how he might have forgotten this. He's like, maybe I said it after I kissed her and I like entered a post-kiss fog, or like maybe some god disguised himself as me and then made her this promise as a prank. I guess not outside the realm of possibility, but
Come on, Percy.
would be silly.
Yeah. Come on.
And he's about to have to admit he forgot when he is saved by a brown delivery truck that reads Hermes Express. And he also describes what Hermes is wearing. And it feels, pretty typical delivery guy attire. But then he describes his shoes and he says he's wearing cleats. And so I'm here like, do mailmen typically wear cleats? And so I got kind of deep in an internet rabbit hole. Like I was on a website that sells shoes specifically to mailmen or male people, I guess. There are female mail delivery people. I don't know. I was like, is it just the dumb jock in me thinking that like cleats are exclusive to sports? Because I wouldn't want to be problematic and exclude mailmen from the cleat industry, I guess. Because I hear cleats and I'm like, you wear cleats to baseball, to not basketball, to baseball, to football, to soccer, to the other sports that you play on grass. So like when I googled mailman cleats, I got one result, and it was ice cleats, which I guess makes sense that you would put on metal spikes if you have to deliver mail in the ice. But it's September. It's September. Why would Hermes be wearing ice cleats if it's also simultaneously nice enough for them to be having a picnic? Like, why does he have on cleats? And so then the justification that I came up with is that because they are having their picnic in the outfield of a softball field in Central Park, right? My new headcanon is that Hermes is in a Central Park softball league, and so he's here to give a quest, and then he's also going to play in his softball game. So, that begs the very important question: which gods would be good at softball, and what positions would they play?
Now listen, when I was doing this, I didn't really answer the first question. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna be good or not.
Okay.
But I did look up. This is bad. I looked up a list of the major gods so I knew how many I had to account for. And then I was like,
Great.
listen, I could probably name most of them, but then I'd be like, I don't know how many I need to have. One, I don't have a full lineup, and there are a couple repeats because some people just give off very specific vibes.
I feel like you have a more serious answer than I do. And
well, if you want to go ahead. And then I have a lot.
No. Let's hear your lineup, and then let's hear my dumb nonsense.
So, gonna start off with Zeus. I said he gives off pitcher vibes because he wants to be star of the show and control everything.
Yeah, gotta make everything about himself, for sure, for sure.
And then Hera, I had as catcher because when I was reading all the descriptions of the gods and their attributes, it was like she's just as important as Zeus, but she always gets like second fiddle. That's totally a
Mm,
catcher because the catcher is also a very important job in
so true.
baseball or softball, but they never get the recognition. So Hades, I also put as catcher
Mm.
because I read that sometimes his name is considered derived from the word meaning receiver. So I was like, okay.
Ah, okay.
And also ignored a lot.
Right.
Athena is not necessarily a position. I have her kind of like as the on-field manager or a captain.
That's what I said. That's what I said too. I was like, there's a lot of strategy in baseball. She would be good in that role, I think.
Yeah. Aphrodite, I have her in left field because weakest arm. Don't really need to be that good to play left field.
Wow.
I love her. I love her. However, we know
Me, an outfielder.
I'm not saying any fielding position. I'm saying left field specifically is the easiest one because it's the shortest distance to reach third base.
Oh, see, I think right field because you tend to get less stuff out there because there's less like left-handed batters that drive it that way.
You gotta have a really good arm to play right though.
That is true. Aphrodite is playing whatever position where she could get bored and sit and pick flowers in the outfield the way you do when you're 6 years old.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was like, one, she's definitely in the outfield, but she's like messing around. Aries. I have him as shortstop. Very fiery. I feel
Okay.
like that's a
I can see it.
yeah. Artemis, I have a second base.
Hmm.
Only because I read that, she usually presents as a small girl. And I thought of Jose Altuve, I gotta be honest. I was like, small.
My boy.
Yeah, he's small. I also have Hermes as shortstop.
Hmm.
I think he would be a good because you got to be quick and nimble.
You do. I had Hermes as an outfielder
Okay. Okay.
just because I think he's quick. He is the delivery guy, so I think he would have quite the arm to get the ball in from the outfield.
Could also see that.
Yeah.
Very fair.
I also, for Artemis, I don't have a position. I just said Artemis would be good at softball because softball is lesbian coded and the Hunters are lesbian coded, so it makes sense.
Fair. So fair. And then Dionysus, I had him in center.
I think Dionysus is sitting in the bleachers with a beer.
So fair. I could see that. Anyway, that's what I have.
Okay. I put two gods that you did not have. And again, I really didn't have a whole lot of positions made up. But I put Hephaestus as the bat boy just because I think that he could make some really excellent bats. And so he would just like be in charge of bats.
Fair.
And then a really silly, goofy joke. Hestia should be the catcher because she's the goddess of home.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Adorable.
And I did pose this question because I thought of the Hestia thing, and I was like, that's good. But yeah, I'm a fan of our God baseball team. We don't have a first baseman or a third baseman, but
I had I can't say his name, the H one.
Hephaestus?
Festus. I had him as first base.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I can see that. I mean, I feel like a lot of teams, and this is going to be a little mean to my guy Hephaestus, I feel like sometimes teams will put their least athletic player at first
Yes.
because you just have to like stretch far and catch the ball. So it's like their person who doesn't run very fast. Sorry to this man. He does not have athletic vibes.
No.
I guess Poseidon could play third just because we need a third baseman.
Yeah, I could see it.
Could also get Demeter out in the outfield. I feel like she'd be good in a field, being
Yes.
goddess of plants and all.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think we have a whole team.
Let's do it. Let's take them to the wherever they go.
The Olympians.
There you go.
Podcast merch, and it's Olympians baseball jerseys.
Love.
Boom. Okay, so back to our quest. Percy describes Hermes as being messenger of the gods, personal friend, dispenser of heroic quests, and frequent cause of migraine headaches. He beckons Percy over, and Percy is almost relieved to be getting a life-threatening quest instead of having to continue this conversation with Annabeth about their 1-month anniversary. And Hermes clearly still has beef with Annabeth because he looks at her and goes, I didn't know the girl would be here. She'll have to swear to keep her mouth shut. I feel like at this point, every god has beef with either Percy or Annabeth or both.
Yeah, they're like, oh shit, not these two again.
Except for maybe Aphrodite, who is like very invested in their relationship. And so Hermes, he's being kind of like cagey about why he's here. And Annabeth ends up working out that Hermes has lost his staff. But he's, very quick to correct her and say, no, it was stolen. And also that he didn't ask for your help, girl. And Annabeth goes, fine, good luck solving your problem then. And Percy starts thinking, oh god, I'm about to have to break up a fight between an immortal god and my girlfriend. And honestly, I think through pure teenage girl rage, Annabeth could take him.
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
to quote our queen, Keely Jones, teenage girls are mysterious and dark and dangerous.
True. God, Keely Jones. I miss her.
What a woman. Watch Ted Lasso if you haven't. I found it very interesting the way that Percy described the background of like Hermes and Annabeth's beef. Here's the quote. He says, Annabeth used to adventure with Hermes' son Luke. Over time, Annabeth developed a crush on Luke. As Annabeth got older, Luke developed feelings for her too. Luke turned evil. Hermes blamed Annabeth for not preventing Luke from turning evil. Annabeth blamed Hermes for being a rotten dad and giving Luke the capacity to become evil in the first place. Luke died in war. Hermes and Annabeth blamed each other. Confused? Welcome to my world. Just the order in which Percy chooses to list the events. Namely, Luke developing feelings for Annabeth and Luke turning evil. Because he says feelings first, which like implies that it happened first. But Luke betrayed them when she was like 13 and he was 19.
Ew.
That's
So gross.
and again, why is a god blaming a 16-year-old for not keeping his son from turning evil? That is not her job.
I know. Justice for our girl.
Like, he may be thousands of years old, but why are these 16-year-olds more mature than he is?
Mm-hmm.
Just wondering. Then, to diffuse the situation, Percy sends Annabeth back to their blanket while he stays and talks to Hermes. Telling her to go away doesn't really feel like the correct option, and I feel like if I was Annabeth, I would have been more angry than she is. But Annabeth is better than me, I guess.
Oh, I would have been petty as hell.
Yeah. Would have been like, so what's your quest? Have fun with that.
Good luck.
Like, I wouldn't be going.
No.
So, Percy and Hermes then sit on some boxes of toxic serpents, which is fun. And Hermes says that he just left George and Martha alone for a moment. And then Percy gets on a tangent about Hermes caduceus and how it's considered the medical symbol, even though it's like really the staff of Asclepius. And, but, you know, both have been used as medical symbols. Like, originally, the American Medical Association used the caduceus, and then they changed it to the rod of Asclepius. It's just the only difference is Hermes has two snakes, Asclepius has one, and it's fine. And I feel like I said something wrong about this early on in this podcast, but this I'm pretty sure is right.
I have no idea. I'm gonna believe you. I believe women.
Cuz like I don't know, think of your mental picture of the medical staff thing.
I don't know what that.
How many snakes does it have? Cuz like in my brain it has two snakes.
You could tell me there are 4 on there and I would believe you. I have no idea.
That's so fair. Anyway, so Hermes was delivering something to Janice at Rockefeller Center, who apparently has been working in television, and since he's like the god of beginnings and endings, he's the one responsible for all these shows that like start and then get immediately canceled. And I just would like to know, is he also responsible for this new trend of like shows taking multiple years between seasons? Like, is this guy the reason that it's been 2 years in between seasons of Percy Jackson? Because I will fight a god, and much like Annabeth, I will win through pure feminine rage. Thank you. So Hermes left the caduceus in the car while he made his delivery, and now he's certain that Cacus has stolen it. Percy has no idea who that is, but he says, luckily, I've had lots of experience being confused when people say Greek names I don't know. What a guy.
Percy knew his name.
He says that Annabeth like tells him he should read a book, but he says it's simply easier just to let other people explain things. And you know what?
He's right.
Love this for you, Percy. So Cacus is a giant who lives somewhere in underground Manhattan. Hermes, of course, cannot go looking for this staff himself because that would be embarrassing, and he needs this job done by 5. Percy agrees, but not before getting Hermes to promise him some reward that has to do with him being the god of travel, which, you know, we find out what that is later. Percy then returns to Annabeth to explain. She, of course, is real mad, but not as mad as I would be about this whole thing. And Percy promises that after ... but Annabeth cuts him off and is like, you're cute, but please don't make any more promises. Everybody needs to stop breaking promises they made to Annabeth.
Oof.
That's all I have to say. My poor, poor girl.
She deserves the world.
Also, as they're packing up their stuff, Percy reveals that they were using Annabeth's video shield as a plate for cheese and crackers, which I love. That's iconic.
Hey, it's good for the environment, you know? Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Right. Might as well. And so She takes her plate shield and says she wants to see Cacus or Caucus, I guess maybe, considering the like joke that the shield makes. Because when she says she wants to like see Caucus, it shows her Secaucus in New Jersey. It's a good joke. It's a great joke, even.
Yeah, I was thinking it was Caucus, but I have no idea.
I, most of the time, it's just kind of I just take a stab at names. She then gets more specific with her request and gets shown the High Line. And if you're not familiar with the High Line, it is a park that was created on part of a former train line, kind of on the west side in New York. In the video shield, she can see that below the High Line there's a big hole in the street where apparently there was a fire that she saw in the news. Could have been caused by a fire breathing giant, so seems like a good place to start. So they decide to take a cab down there, which I'm sure would be so expensive. Where are they getting this money?
Yeah, like they don't have summer jobs. Like what are we doing?
I mean,
They're at camp. When would they have time for
yeah,
a summer job?
no, that's very true.
They having a job during the school year? That seems very unrealistic.
Yeah,
Wait, also how old are they?
16.
They can work, right? They're
Yeah,
16.
they're 16.
Okay.
They can have a job. Get a job, Percy and Annabeth. Saving the world is not enough. You must participate in capitalism. So, as they like go to leave, Annabeth kind of says, "Wow, first sunny day in weeks, and my boyfriend wants to take me to a cave to fight a fire-breathing giant." And he tells her she's awesome, and she says, "I know. You better have something good planned for dinner. Like, do you want him to take you to dinner or not?" Because she's being very like hot and cold about this whole dinner situation.
Yeah.
A couple paragraphs ago, she was like, "Don't promise me anything," and then now she's like, "No, you better take me to dinner." Like,
She's so meek. I do this all the time. It's a test, Mal.
she's just playing games.
Yes.
Honestly, I feel like she's probably enjoying watching Percy kind of fumble his way through being a boyfriend and just like freak out over every little thing.
Yeah. It's amusing to me at least.
Yeah, that feels like the kind of thing she would find fun. Because also, if he freaks out, you know he cares.
Exactly.
All right, so they take their cab and then they immediately climb into the hole. They climb down and down and down and down and down, and it gets a little too close to cave diving for me. Can't believe I'm talking about cave diving 2 weeks in a row. But when they make it to the bottom, they end up in like a big cavern, so it's not some like tiny crevice in the rock that they're gonna get stuck in, like upside down, as happens in the horrifying cave diving stories. This huge cavern is full of all sorts of things: cars, lumber crates, purses, clothing, some cow carcasses hanging on meat hooks. Like, it's a
Yeah.
real collection. And then we meet the man we've been looking for, Cacus. He's about 10 feet tall, he's got orange hair, he's in a robe, slippers, and Valentine boxers. Our ginger giant.
Can I just say, I'm feeling targeted by this description of him because I feel like I would wear something like this. I've got, Valentine's
Yeah.
print, like heart print under things and a red like velvet robe. I would wear that. I would wear that. I am caucus. That's what I'm saying. What the hell?
Rick Riordan better get you some
I'm
royalties.
in this picture and I don't like it.
Is this play about us?
Yeah. What the fuck?
And our good friend Caucus, he wants breakfast. Annabeth, gives them away immediately by calling him the ginger giant to Percy, and he does here. And so naturally, he wants to eat them for breakfast. And he says he's craving huevos semidios. And I know enough Spanish to know that that means demigod eggs. Incredible. Annabeth tells him that they're not breakfast, so he ends up breathing fire at one of the cow carcasses and just like eating it in 3 bites, bones and all. And so he's like, "If you're not breakfast, you must be customers." Parsi kind of like steps forward, gives us a really banger line. He says, "Call me old fashioned, but I wanted to keep his focus on me and not Annabeth. I think it's polite for a guy to protect his girlfriend from instant incineration." Perhaps a low bar, but men consistently find ways to disappoint us, so
We'll take it.
at least we have this.
Yeah.
And so Percy tells him that they might be interested in buying his wares, and he shows them, all the knockoffs that he's stolen from street vendors. And Percy says they're looking for something better, something magical, aka the caduceus. this is like the silliest part of all of this to me because Percy tries to be intimidating by like introducing themselves by their full names and their parentage. He's like, I'm Percy Jackson, son of Poseidon. This is Annabeth Chase, daughter of Athena, and perhaps you've heard of us and all the monsters that we fought. And like, like, has there ever been any indication in any monster interaction that this would work? Like, I can't think of a single example of like anyone being intimidated upon learning who they are.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're still two teenagers. Like, at the end of the day, that's what you look like. Like, you're two teenagers.
At most, I feel like we've seen monsters that have heard of them and just want their own shot to try to kill them. Like it's no
Yeah.
no one has been intimidated. Though Percy does remind us here of his Styx bath, and I got to be honest, I forget about that constantly. Like if he's not actively telling me that he
I know, I'm like, oh shit,
yeah.
he's still technically immortal.
So then that makes his whole thing about like it being polite to protect Annabeth from instant incineration. Like, yeah, you're invincible. It's kind of the least you can do.
Yeah.
And so Caucus is not impressed. He says Hercules is the only demigod to defeat him ever. But thinking about it, Caucus really must not have heard much about Percy because pretty much every monster that Hercules fought, like Percy has fought at this point, honestly, perhaps controversial, Percy may have done more than Hercules at this point. Like he's definitely done more in less time than Hercules.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he's speed running this shit.
right. He is. He's speedrunning being a demigod hero. Our good friend Caucus summons the Caduceus. George and Martha finally make an appearance. George, of course, asks Percy for some food. Classic. And Caucus doesn't seem to be able to hear George and Martha when they talk. Like, he can't talk to them. And he tells Percy, get them to cooperate because I'm their master now. I do wonder about George and Martha. Like, do they only talk to who they want to talk to? Or can, like, monsters not talk to them at all?
Hmm.
I have questions.
I need to know more about them, honestly.
Yeah, and there's an interview with them in the book, but it really doesn't give much new and important
No, I
information.
read it because I was like, I didn't know if I was supposed to, but I was like, this doesn't really give me much.
Yeah, it's just like it's mostly just silly. They're just kind of like being snakes
Yeah.
and being like, we don't work for Hermes, we work with Hermes, which incredible, slay. I support workers.
Mm-hmm. Unionize.
Yeah, George and Martha, their union is their marriage.
Yeah.
Because I forget, did we have that lore before? Because
No, I don't think so.
Martha like drops a nugget about their wedding, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. They remind me of Wanda and Cosmo from the Fairly Odd Parents.
Are they married?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. At least I'm
Oh.
pretty sure. I don't know. I haven't watched the show in a while, but I'm pretty sure they're married.
Now I have to Google that. Hold on. Oh, good. First result. Are Cosmo and Wanda married? AI says they are, but I don't trust it. Okay. The Fairly Odd Fanon Wiki says they have been married for 10,000 years. Good for them.
Still going strong. What do you get after the first 100? Like, it's your anniversary gift.
I don't know. I don't know what all the like anniversary gifts are.
Yeah, I forget.
I know one of them is paper.
I think that's the first one.
Oh, interesting. How long do we think these snakes have been married?
Yeah, really.
They're also kind of conjoined. They're intertwined.
Yeah.
Which I guess, I mean, would make it awkward if one of them were to start dating like a third snake. It's like, I guess
Yeah.
your only real option is to marry each other.
Yeah.
Anyway. Alright, so the TLDR of Caucus's plan is that he wants to learn how to use the Caduceus so that he can travel around, steal more knockoffs, and become the god of traveling salesmen. And he also implies that stealing it wasn't his idea, but now he's convinced that it was, in fact, the right thing to do. So, interesting. It also seems like whoever convinced him to steal it wanted to make it so that Hermes couldn't deliver messages, thus cutting off like the communication lines of the gods, which is not great.
No.
And it's at this point that Percy looks at Annabeth and goes, "Time to fight," and she says, "That's the smartest thing you said all morning." I'm a little confused as to what time of day this is taking place because I assumed their picnic was lunch.
Yeah.
So her being like, "The smartest thing you said all morning," I was like, "Wait, is it morning?"
It is late morning and brunch. It's like 11.
Brunch picnic. That's fun. Also, another great quote here. There's a lot of great quotes in this story. I feel like I wrote down a lot of things, but Percy says, Annabeth and I had been fighting together for years. We knew each other's abilities. We could anticipate each other's moves. I might have felt awkward and nervous about being her boyfriend, but fighting with her, that came naturally. And then he ruins it a little by ending with, that sounded wrong. Oh well.
Yeah.
It was cute. It was cute. You didn't have to imply that by saying fight with her, you meant like
Physically fight. Yeah.
argue, like opposing teams. We got what you meant, and it was cute.
Just gotta put his foot in his mouth all the time.
Always. So they fight. It's a pretty typical fight. Lots of slashing with swords, stabbing with knives, and whatnot. One point, Cacus does throw Percy across the room into a pile of stone cows. Also because he was using the caduceus to turn things to stone, kind of accidentally, but then he was like, yeah. That's why he was like, it was a great idea to steal this, because he like made it do something cool. Forgot that little detail. Yes. So he throws Percy into the stone cows that he accidentally created. And Percy says like his vision kind of blurs, which does beg the question, can you get a concussion with the Achilles curse? Because signs kind of point to yes. And he spends the next couple paragraphs saying that like everything sounds like it's happening underwater, which that says head injury to me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
But this does give Percy an idea. So, his brain works well enough to come up with an idea. And he summons a bunch of water and causes part of the Manhattan sewer system to explode.
Ew.
And so this, like, douses Cacus, but then also douses Percy and Annabeth. And then I'm not sure why this made me laugh as much as it did, but Percy says he wills himself to travel upstream like a salmon. I don't know why, but like that just absolutely that it tickled me. And as they're pretending to be salmon, like swimming upstream here, Annabeth is also calling him lovely little pet names like idiot and moron and threatening to kill him as he drags her through sewer water. So,
Ugh.
and you know what? She's right for that, because he has the power to stay dry in water, but she does not.
Oh, so gross. Like, I was gagged reading.
I do not trust any sort of water in or around Manhattan. Well, like tap water is fine.
Well, and it's not treated yet.
Yeah, like sewer water and street water and air conditioner drips and the Hudson and the East River, absolutely not.
Treatment plant water.
Yes.
It needs to go through the treatment plant.
Yes. So we make it up our salmon ladder to the street. We have kind of a moment. We're like, yay, we're alive, but also we don't have the caduceus, so that sucks. But then the giant figures out laser mode and causes an explosion and crawls out of the cave into the street. So, great. Percy then says that he's a little surprised that they didn't end up doing more damage to the meatpacking district with all of this. They lure Cacus up to the High Line. Annabeth says it's Percy's turn now to have a brilliant idea. Percy then, instead of having a brilliant idea, decides to take this time to tell us all how beautiful Annabeth looks. So he says, and I quote, "She was beautiful in combat. I know it's a crazy thing to say, especially after we just climbed a sewage waterfall, but her gray eyes sparkled when she was fighting for her life. Her face shone like a goddess's, and believe me, I've seen goddesses. The way her camp half-blood beads rested against her throat." Okay, sorry, I got a little carried away.
Down bad. Down astronomical.
Down astronomical. So bad. Stop staring at her. You're gonna get killed. Get a grip.
Focus.
Like, you won't be able to stare at her and think about how hot she is if you both die.
Yeah.
They're fighting for their lives, and he's over there, like, twirling his hair around his finger with, like, heart eyes, thinking about, like, my girlfriend is so hot. Like, if this man had a diary, he would be doodling, like, little hearts, and he'd be writing his name as, like, Mr. Percy Chase, or whatever. Also, it's kind of fun that he says she looks like a goddess, and, he'd know because he's seen goddesses. And it just reminds me of the fact that he met the goddess. He met Aphrodite, and she looked to him a little bit like Annabeth. So, also, this is the second time he specifically mentioned the way her camp necklace, like, hangs on her neck. What's up with that?
What the hell, Percy?
Like, focusing on her neck is a little vampire adjacent, but alright.
Whatever floats your boat, I guess.
Anyway, so the member of this relationship who is not overcome by lust right now then decides that she wants to use a nearby crane to help them because she rocks at grabber arm games, which that checks out. She would be good at grabber arm games. And so then it's Percy's job to distract Cacus. And so when Cacus finds him, George then informs Percy that he thinks he bruised his tummy, which is inexcusable. This giant has to die. And so Caucus ends up throwing the staff down in frustration when he like tries to zap Percy because the staff like changes into a credit card reader and only spits out a receipt. So then Percy's able to grab it from the ground. Annabeth finally is able to get the crane moving, and so Percy tells Caucus he's got a secret weapon. And so Caucus is like, I need this weapon, like, can I buy it? And Percy says, her name is Annabeth, and she's a one of a kind. Boom. It's so cheesy. I love it. Annabeth then like takes the crane and starts swinging this giant until she kind of like flings him into the Hudson. And on the way down, Percy gets George and Martha to do laser mode to like explode Caucus. So, yay!
I love George and Martha so much.
They're so fun. Icons.
I need more of them, actually.
Where's the George and Martha book?
Yeah. I think Hermes should loan the staff to Percy every once in a while.
Yes.
Just for help.
Percy should be allowed to use the staff, I agree. And I think George and Martha would be down.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to like Percy. So Percy and Annabeth then meet back up, and I love that she's like, wasn't that amazing? And it says like, was that amazing? She demanded. Like, she's like, give me a compliment. And he, of course, tells her that it was amazing. And then they try their very best to pull off a romantic kiss while covered in sewer muck. Disgusting. Could never be me.
That's so nauseating.
You must shower before you kiss me. And the city's apparently crawling with cops, so they decide to take the subway back, which, like, they should have done anyway, because a lot of times the subway is faster than a car, just anyway, especially getting around Manhattan. Like, there's so many trains. But, you know, no one asked me. And also, apparently, George and Martha get a nice little rat buffet in the subway, because the rats don't run this city, George and Martha do.
Oh.
I did. This is just silly goofy. I did see a guy who was like sweeping in the subway station yesterday, and
Oh god.
so he was like sweeping, and then a rat ran at him, and so he took the broom and started like whacking the rat. And it was like watching this man just for a moment like fight with this rat. I was like, what are we doing? And I didn't stay long enough to like see what became of this rat, but like felt very very New York to me.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm just picturing that in my head.
Yeah. It's like broom versus rat.
Oh my god.
So, actually, and now that I say that, I feel like that's what the mist probably disguised Percy letting George and Martha go ham on the rats in the subway. Like, that's probably what it looked like. You know, he's got a big long stick, and it probably looks like he's whacking rats in the subway,
That's pretty good.
letting them eat. It's great. All right, so then we meet up with Hermes once again, give him his caduceus back, and explain the whole story. And Hermes kind of implies that like Zeus has been threatening to do something, but when they ask about it, he won't answer. He also has no insight on who Caucus might be working for. Alas. Percy then reminds Hermes about his reward, and Hermes also warns him that he may not see him again for a while, but they should try to enjoy tonight. Ominous.
Very ominous.
And then they get their reward. Hermes has given them new clothes. So Percy's in a suit with a tie and everything, and he's like, somebody better get a picture because I do not wear suits. And Annabeth is in a green dress, 20 buttons and a strap. And I'm not going to finish that song because it gets a little spicy, but I do think that Percy would agree with the line that talks about, like, what the green dress does to me on you. Because I assure you, he is losing his mind. I wonder if this is the first time he's seen her, like, dressed up. Because I can't imagine there's been that many opportunities.
Yeah.
You know? I guess it would depend how dressed up they got for the middle school dance that they crashed in the Titan's Curse in the beginning.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
And I guess it would also depend, do they get a change of clothes anytime they go to Olympus? Because, like, they dance both at the beginning and the end of Titan's Curse. And then we also had that whole conversation at the last Olympian. Like, are they just standing there in their torn, bloody, dirty clothes? Or
Right.
did they get
Yeah.
to change? But then also, they would probably change into something, like, a little more comfortable, but who's to say? This could be the first time that he's seen her very dressed up.
Yeah.
So, I don't even think I've said like what the reward is. Anyway, they get to have dinner in Paris for their 1 month anniversary. Hermes has sent them to Paris.
I wrote down Percy using his reward from Hermes to take Annabeth to Rome or something for their special romantic anniversary dinner. I was like, oh, so close.
Good prediction.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rome would feel a little more on theme.
Because I always like see this picture. Who knows if it's AI or not? I don't think it is, but again, God only knows. But it's like, it looks to be like a restaurant with like a perfect view of the Colosseum.
Ooh.
And like this table set up on a balcony and you're overlooking it and the Colosseum's like lit up at night. That's what I had in my head of like their anniversary dinner.
Ooh, that would be gorgeous.
But top of the Eiffel Tower is fine too.
Is it the top of the Eiffel Tower? I thought they were just like, they had a view of the Eiffel Tower.
I don't know. I thought it was the top, but maybe I'm wrong.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, he says they're on a rooftop terrace with a view of the lights of Paris and the boats on the river. I can't ever pronounce the river.
The Seine.
The Seine, thank you. Yeah, so the boats on the river Seine and the Eiffel Tower glowed in the distance.
Okay, they're not in the. I don't know why I thought that.
You got the like balcony terrace situation.
Yeah.
So there might be other dates. I'm sure Percy will do another favor for Hermes. Maybe then they can go to Rome.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so dinner in Paris for your 1 month anniversary. It's a wild thing for two 16-year-olds to be doing.
Yeah.
And he tries to like play it off like he planned it, but like Annabeth was there. Like Annabeth has been here this whole day. She knows that you had nothing planned. Like she's not an idiot. But you know. And she also tells him feel free to start planning our 2 month anniversary, but like how do you top this?
She's kind of crazy. I love it.
She's like, you gotta keep surprising me.
Yeah.
And you know what? He does.
Mhm.
Percy Jackson is full of surprises, I believe. And maybe for their 6 month anniversary or their
1 year.
year anniversary, they'll go to Rome and eat by the Colosseum.
Yeah. Get that Black Olympus card.
Or maybe for their 2nd month anniversary.
Yeah.
Percy's just gonna keep cashing in favors with gods to get to go to cool places.
He has enough.
Honestly, like if I could, I would. I love how Percy is just kind of like, at first he's like very nervous that he's gonna have to plan a 2nd month anniversary, but then he gets kind of happy that she sees enough of a future for him that she's planning to still be with him next month. And I'm like, buddy, have some self esteem.
Yeah, come on.
Like, you two, you're gonna be together forever. Nothing bad will ever happen.
Soulmates.
And actually, it's just all happy things from here. Nothing bad will ever happen. Anyway, I love the way that whenever something like ominous is given to them, they always kind of recap it at the end to kind of remind you that like, hey, you got this little clue. And so they talk a little bit about like what Hermes said, but again, we don't have any more answers. And Percy decides that he just wants to enjoy tonight and explore Paris with a beautiful girl. And you know what? Me too. But you know what? I already did when I went to Paris with you.
We did that.
We didn't have Hermes' credit card though, and that would have really enhanced the experience.
Yeah, that would have been great. I want to go back to Paris so bad.
I just want to go somewhere. I didn't even really like Paris that much, but I'm like, Paris sounds nice. Alright, so that's that.
10 out of 10. I like that one. I like that one more than the Diary of Luke.
Really?
I mean, I still like Diary of Luke. Diary of Luke is like 8 out of 10.
Okay.
This one is fun.
I feel like the Diary of Luke has more like plot implications and more lore, whereas like this one's just kind of fun. But it's really good to get to see like Percy and Annabeth as a couple. Because you don't really get that in The Last Olympian.
Yeah, they're too busy, like saving the world or whatever.
I mean, they kiss and they get together, but then you get one chapter post underwater kiss. And that you're tying up all the other loose ends that you don't even have time to be like, we're cute and we're dating. But here you can see like just how down bad he is, and it's crazy.
So good. I love how pathetic he is.
So pathetic. It's fantastic. I don't know. I feel like I always have more to say when it's like a silly, goofy story, because with the Diary of Luke, I'm like, this is a good story, but We don't really do real analysis on this podcast. We go on weird tangents and we create Olympian softball teams. Like
That's
what
what
more
the
do you want
people
from
want.
us?
Okay, go to another podcast for literary analysis. We have
Yeah,
fun here.
we do. Like, not to say literary analysis can't be fun, but all right, you got anything else on the Staff of Hermes?
I don't think so. Again, I like that one. I thought it was fun.
Any thoughts on what's to come?
I'm so nervous about this rumbling of trying to disrupt communication. I'm interested to see who the next villain's gonna be.
Well, that is very soon. Like 2 weeks, I guess, we'll be starting
Crazy.
the next book, which is crazy. Because next week we're gonna watch the Sea of Monsters movie, so that will be a silly, goofy, fun time.
Oh yeah.
Woo! Yeah, that's a film. That's a film. I'm very excited. I haven't seen that movie, I don't think, in its entirety since I saw it in theaters when it came out. So
So this is gonna be fun.
yeah. Maybe I'll watch it and I'll be like, actually, this is good, actually.
Yeah, actually, I kind of like.
I doubt it. All right, well, that's all, I guess.
We'll be back next week.
We'll see you next week. Adios. Later. Hasta la vista. Hi, you can find us on social media at DemigodDebutPod. You can also find the links to all of our socials in the episode description. If you enjoy consuming this podcast, please consider leaving us a rating or review wherever it is you are listening. See you next time. Bye!